Hello, I'm Jill at engVid, and today we're looking at a couple of poems, and they are connected in a way because the one on the right is what's known as a parody of the one on the left. So what is a parody? Okay, so the one on the left was written at a certain date, this one 1715, and the one on the right was, well, published in 1865, so more than 100 years later. So you have to have the first one, the first poem, for somebody to write a parody of it, because the idea is that this later poem is making fun in some way of the earlier poem, and it's kind of imitating the style and it's echoing some of the words, but the effect of it is very different. Okay, so this one is meant to be quite serious, but this one is quite funny because it's making fun of something serious. Okay, it'll become clearer as we start to look at it. So I'll start by just reading the one on the left, and then I'll explain it a little bit. So this is by Isaac Watts in a book called Divine Songs for Children, published in 1715. Okay, so it reads: How doth the little busy bee improve each shining hour, and gather honey all the day from every opening flower? How skilfully she builds her cell, how neat she spreads her wax, and labours hard to store it well with the sweet food she makes. Okay, so the original actually has another 2 verses after this, but because this later parody of it is only in 2 verses, I've only put these first 2 verses on the board because these are directly connected. Okay, so Isaac Watts was a religious man, a clergyman, and he was trying to instruct children in good behaviour and not wasting time, because the idea is if you have a lot of time and you don't do anything useful with it, you'll start doing bad things. So keep busy and do good things. So he's using the busy bee as an example of something in nature, an insect in nature, who always seems to be busy and working and producing something useful, something good, because the bees are producing honey and they seem to be working all the time, going out to find the flowers and the pollen, bringing it back to the beehive and working inside the beehive and creating honey. Okay, so how doth the little busy bee improve each shining hour? So the idea that an hour of time is a shining hour, it's something very positive. Don't waste an hour when you could be doing something with it, something special. You've got to improve each shining hour. You've got to do something with it. And gather honey all the day from every opening flower. So this bee is flying around all day in the garden, collecting honey or collecting the pollen that's going to make the honey from every opening flower. So this would be in the summer. How skillfully she builds her cell. So this is the inside the beehive, the little compartments that you get where the honey is formed. She builds her cell. She's doing something, building. She's been out collecting. Now she's back. She's doing some building. How neat. She spreads her wax. That's the bee's wax inside the hive. And labours hard. She's working hard to store it well. The hive is where the honey is stored with the sweet food she makes. It's almost like the bee is working in a factory, you know, and making something, being very productive. So this is kind of praising the bee for being such a good little worker. So this religious man is teaching children, you know, when they grow up, and even as they're children, they're not going to get away with any time wasting. You know, they've got to be productive even as children. Maybe read lots of books, do useful things, you know, don't get into trouble, don't be lazy, all that sort of thing. So it's a very moral kind of verse, really. Strangely enough, Lewis Carroll was also a religious man, clergyman. It wasn't his real name, but the person, you know, Dodgson, his real name was Charles Dodgson. He was also a clergyman, but I think he had more of a sense of humour, and he was writing this to entertain a little girl that he knew. The whole book, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, came from telling this little girl Alice stories and entertaining her. And there's nothing moralistic about the parody. So we've got, instead of the bee, we've got how doth the little crocodile. So that's quite a different kind of natural creature in nature. How doth the little crocodile improve his shining tail? So what we've got some echoes. We've got how doth the little is all the same, but then instead of busy bee, we have crocodile. It's still 3 syllables, busy bee, crocodile. So Lewis Carroll is following the rhythm right from the start and also echoing the words. So instead of improve each shining hour, we've got improve his shining tail. Okay, so again, we've got improve and shining. And the rhythm is still the same. Improve each shining hour, improve his shining tail. Okay. And gather honey all the day. And, so we've got and again. But we've got, and pour the waters of the Nile. Because where would you get a crocodile? Where would you see a crocodile? And what could rhyme with crocodile? Nile. The River Nile in Egypt, where there are crocodiles, so that was a convenient rhyme. So that's interesting because we've got a rhyme there, but bee and day don't rhyme, so that's an interesting difference. But it makes it funnier, really. I think if you get a rhyme, it actually sometimes creates humour. And he's wanting to be funny and make people laugh. So, how doth the little crocodile improve his shining tail? And pour the waters of the Nile on every golden scale. You know, the skin of the crocodile is very rough with sort of scales on it. So we've got every. So that's an echo, and the rhythm from every opening flower on every golden scale. So it all matches in the rhythm. Okay. And then we've got how skillfully. So we've got here how cheerfully. And then we've got she and he builds her cell. He seems to grin. Ooh, so he's grinning because the mouth of a crocodile with all those teeth looks as if they're grinning. So again, that adds to the humour. How neat she spreads her wax. We've got how neatly. Spreads is still the same word, which is clever, because this is about spreading wax, beeswax, spreading. But this one, how neatly spreads his claws. So he's spreading his claws like this for some purpose. Okay, so we've got her and his. Okay. And labours hard to store it well. So we've got and again, and welcomes little fishes in. So we've got the same rhythm here, but the words are mostly different. Labours hard to store it well and welcomes little fishes in, meaning little fishes into his mouth, with the crocodile with grinning, and fishes are swimming into his mouth, not realising where they're going, probably. With the sweet food she makes. So we've got with gently smiling jaws. So again, we've got grin and in is a rhyme. Oh, tail and scale is a rhyme. And claws and jaws. We've got a very nice rhyme scheme here. A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D. So a nice alternating rhyme pattern. But here we've got be our day flower. So, okay, good. We've got a rhyme there. Sell wax well makes. So sell and well. And then wax and makes. I'd call that a half rhyme because we've got that wax sounds like KS, and here we've got KS. So that's a half rhyme, but it's a kind of almost rhyme. So there's a bit of rhyming in this one, but not very obvious. But here we've got a very regular rhyme scheme. And I think if you get very regular rhyming, it often makes it sound very funny. It's very mechanical sounding. So, and the picture is very different here because we've got not a bee making, using its time usefully to make lovely honey. We've got here a crocodile which is going to eat other animals or fish. It's going to swallow the fish. So it's more cruel and predatory and dangerous. So Lewis Carroll has totally overturned the lovely, nice picture here of the bee working hard. And here we have a crocodile that's just sitting there, swallowing little fishes without those poor fishes even realising what's happening to them. So that's what a parody does, really. It makes fun of maybe something more serious. And the fact that, I mean, when I was very young and first read this, I didn't know this one. So I just read this and thought, oh, that's funny. But when you know the original that it's based on, that it's been influenced by, it then makes it even funnier, I think, because you realise then it's an echo of it and it's maybe overturning the idea and making something different out of it and creating humour at the same time. So Okay, so I hope that's been a useful example for you of what it is to do a parody. It's a very clever, skillful thing to do, really. It's not easy, I don't think, but maybe you could try if you feel like parodying something. Have a go and see what comes out of it. Okay, so thank you for listening, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.